Good evening, everybody. It's another Thursday. It's time for Who Are We? Used to be Who is SoCal. We have guests from up north, so from San Jose. So now we are called Who Are We? And tonight, oh my gosh, we have such a fun group of people. It's the 408 Hub, rather the Hub 408, and my goodness, it is gonna be a fun night. And before anything else, I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have a concert. It's a live concert on Saturday, July 31st at the Taimili Arts Building on Santa Monica Boulevard and Western Avenue. So it's right at the heart of LA and Hollywood. And that's Garth Garcia's concert and EP release party, and he is going to be performing with his friends Rosen, Julius Floria Gracers hosting it, and we have Enzo Morales, the SoCal Collective Live, and also a special guest, Janice Javier of The Voice is going to be there too. So for tickets, contact me or contact Garth Garcia. And so let's get this show going, shall we? So we will meet the cast of the Hub 408, and they're the longest running show on Kumu. So hello to everyone who's watching from Kumu. This is your favorite show, and they're here on Mick Diaz Presents Who Are We? So let's get to know all of them. Our first guest, so we'll call in the very first one, Waldemar Yuen, or Waldo for short, and he's a native of San Jose, California, and Waldemar has worked in the video game industry for over 10 years, and he delves into anything that's categorized as geeky or nerdy, like comics, board games, card games, and anime, as well as politics and social issues. And he can be found on Kumu at ninja.iceberg. So let's all welcome Waldo. Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very happy to be here. Very excited to be here and talking with you, Mick.
Yes. We're gonna have fun tonight, and I don't want to ask a lot of questions. But what part of San Jose are you from?
So I am from basically the Berryessa McKee area near the flea market. The Berryessa Flea Market. So if anyone's familiar with San Jose, that's basically where I am. That's where I'm located. Originally born in San Francisco and then moved to San Jose. So I basically lived here for pretty much my entire life.
So you're
Bay
on the
Area.
east side, right? Like the east side of
Yes.
San Jose, like near Milpitas, right?
Not quite there yet, but pretty
Almost.
close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
almost.
close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and so the next person that we're going to call in is Joffrey Suarez. So he's a freelance artist who has worked mostly as a concept artist in the video game and comic book industries. And so he is now focused on working on his own projects through Juriki Design Company, as well as streaming his own art creation process on Kumu and Twitch. And he can be found on Kumu at Joffrey Prime.
Joffsimus Prime.
Okay, Joffsimus Prime on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. He's Joffsimus. Okay, well, we'll just ask him. Like, I totally messed that up. I'm so sorry, Joffrey. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's call him in. Hi, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Everybody does it the first time.
That is, yeah. And so, what part of San Jose are you from?
We have a running gag on the show that I keep saying I'm from North San Jose, but realistically, I'm just down the street from Waldo.
Oh, really?
Across the freeway. It's the same area. It's Berryessa. I'm just on the other side of the freeway.
San Jose is such a big area. Oh my goodness, right? And so
yeah, it's very sprawling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like LA over there. It's like the mini version of LA in NorCal. And so the next person that we're gonna call is Ron Saura. So he's been on our show before, both in a panel and on performance night at jam sessions. So since 1994, Ron Saura has been performing under the name RON. Very clever, right? And he's a producer, musician, and actor for over 20 years. Ron considers himself to be a social media terrorist, and he will continue to spread his propaganda through music and film. And when he's not doing that, he's in a podcast with the 408 Hub, or the 408 Hub, or the Hub 408. Sorry. And so let's all welcome Ron Saura. Hi, Ron.
Hey guys. Hi,
how's
doing? Everybody?
Welcome back.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm glad I get to do it with my crew here. So I'm so excited, Nick. Thank you so much for having me.
You have really good lighting. Oh my goodness, that is so cool.
We strive for different looks, artistry. I guess, all the time. So, yes, artistry. Yeah, different looks all the time.
While spreading your propaganda, right?
While spreading, and thank you for reading that profile. I was trying to find the bio you originally wrote me a couple of months ago. I couldn't find it, and I actually found it yesterday. I was like, oh man, I kind of cringe at that. But thank you so much for supporting my I feel like Cobra Commander sometimes. So sometimes you got to put that propaganda out there.
Yes. Yes. And we do love your music, and we hope to have you again with your music soon here in LA, live, right?
Yes.
And we're going to be calling in, oh my gosh. So we're going to be calling in Stephen Rumohr. And so it's a rumor that he's actually a Disney adult. And so we'll find out what that's all about, right? And so he's a native of San Jose, California, who loves all things basketball and football. And like his friends in the Hub 408, he loves movies, comic books, conventions, and everything pop culture. And he goes to Disneyland at least once a year, right? He can't miss Disneyland for anything. And so he currently works in the medical industry as a supplies and equipment technician. And last but not the least, he is a father of 2 beautiful children and a husband to a loving wife. Let's all welcome Stephen Rumohr. Hi, how are you doing?
Hello, hi. Thank you for having me on your show, Nick. This is a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And we are missing Jason Yabut. And just like everyone else here in the show, he's a lover of pop culture, music, screenwriting, and all the nerdy stuff like video games, comic books, and all of that stuff. And he's actually on the way to LA, and hopefully we'll see him at the Kumu meetup tomorrow. That is awesome. And so how have you guys been? Since like 10 minutes ago.
Thank you.
Yes, very good, right? Very good. Like I said, we're very excited to be here. Just for this opportunity to have this conversation, just talk.
Yeah. So I'm really curious. What is the I'm gonna mess it up again. What is the Hub 408 about?
Go ahead,
Right?
Waldo. Waldo,
Yes,
you got to
please,
start
Waldo,
it.
go ahead.
I mean, I guess what it's about is basically just, so when we used to hang out all the time, we used to just have conversations about all kinds of stuff. Like we just like hanging out with each other and just conversating and talking and stuff like that. And I think someone came up with like, hey, we should just record some of our conversations. And that's basically kind of where it started. We get together. It's a hub of people. It's a hub of ideas. It's a hub of just energy and just a centralized location where all of us are just together and hanging out. 408, obviously, the area code that we're all from. So that's where we took that's where we took our name from. And we were just talking about it earlier, and it's always been kind of a weird. It's been a placeholder this entire time, like. Or work in progress. The Hub 408, the name, the title, it was always intended to be changed all those many years ago, but we just never came up with anything better, I guess, or more representative of who we are. So it just kind of stuck, and I think it also kind of represents who we are as people. We're always work in progress. We're always kind of just, we're never really like. There's no permanence to who we are. We're changing, we're evolving, we're just, and when we have conversations with each other, we're always learning new things, so that's kind of the essence of who we are. We're always trying to learn from each other, trying to get new ideas and just, figure things out. I mean, we're all pretty old, some of us have families.
Speak for yourself, Waldo.
Steven is older than I am. And Steven's actually older than me, but we're still learning. We're still learning. We're still trying to figure things out, and so that's kind of what encapsulates all of us together as a group, as a podcast group, and as a friend group.
So how did you guys meet, like in high school or grade school, or how did you guys actually meet? To even form a group, like form a hub. Were you guys
I feel like we kind of had this connection from we were friends and we were friends of each other. We know of each other, but we kind of never really banded together. But I think like maybe Joffrey knew of Waldo, Waldo knew of Joffrey, Waldo knew of Jason. Jason happens to be Ron's cousin. I'm best friends with Ron. I played football with Waldo. Joffrey was always around with Ron. And every time I feel like the minute at least the two or the three of us get together, like it's a connection. Like something happens in the room, we connect, it just meshes well together. I feel like our conversations take to another level when we have fun and we joke and laugh, make fun of each other. It's kind of like a fraternity, but we've never really got together. I think it might have been, I have photos of this, it might have been when we all met up one day to go to a convention, WonderCon in San Francisco, many, many, many moons ago. And we decided to go visit our friend Joffrey, who had a table. Because at the time he was a comic book artist, and we were so excited. We wanted to meet what he was doing and see what he was working on. And we got together, and it just clicked. Like it kind of, I feel like the combination of sports, comic books, movies, we all had that one common bond. We were all geeks and nerds, but I feel like we make it cool. I think we're a different type of breed when we get together. We're like the Power Rangers of comic book geeks and
the Power Rangers. Good ones for the Mighty Morphin, right?
Mighty Morphin, exactly.
Oh my gosh. So everybody, so to those people who are out there in San Jose and the Bay Area, hello, and also to our viewers on Kumu. We have a bunch of viewers on Kumu because these guys are famous on Kumu. Oh my goodness! So what actually made you decide to come up with a podcast on Kumu, and how long ago was that?
I feel like the start of the pandemic was when everything was closing down, shutting down, and I think I had this kind of idea, like this. It's not like an idea, but I noticed Ron so much doing so well in Kumu, and he had an audience, and I brought up to Ron the idea, like just like a little nugget in his ear, like, hey, what if we dusted off the microphone and brought the band back together? I think it started around this month, last year, when Ron and I had a conversation like this, and it was something where I said, Ron, I think this gives us an outlet to bring this podcast back. We've been gone for so long, and I think this pandemic and us being sheltered in place and giving us an outlet to get together through basically Kumu was our chance to just hang out and be normal and live our lives the way we wanted to, and to hang out who we wanted to hang out with. So I felt like Kumu was the best part to start this Hub 408 again. And I mean, I don't know if Ron agrees. So
well, just to add, I mean, that's like everything that Steve said is very accurate. We were podcasting just on different platforms before, mainly like on SoundCloud, and this was years ago. So like we did a good amount of episodes and all that stuff. We're very happy that at the time it wasn't really a thing to be podcasting, even though I think a lot of us here have been fans of podcasting for like the last 10 years. Like we would talk about, hey, what are you listening to right now? So when Steve had brought up the idea of wanting to do the Hub 408 again, for me, I was like, I've been waiting. You know what I mean? I was like, I've been doing, my other show that established me on Kumu, 7,000 Miles. And also, I don't know if Joff knows this, but like, before I started even doing 7,000 Miles, he was like, yo, you could do a podcast by yourself, and we had done even other stuff together where it was just me and Joff doing these like weird type of audio recordings, like, hey, let's just always create content. Let's do stuff. So, to do 7,000 Miles, which is what got me on the map. I'm very grateful for that, but what a better opportunity to do it with your friends. Steve had brought up the connections that we have. Steve met Waldo here through football and being with him in high school, but I've known Waldo since like 7th grade. 7th, 8th grade. Me and Waldo were in the same accelerated classes. Back in the day. I actually was pretty good in school at one point. You know what I mean?
Nervous.
I knew that I was the only gangster that was in an accelerated class. I will say that.
What class was that?
I think it was that English and history?
Yeah, basically like English, social studies kind of things. Yeah. It's yeah.
So that's how me and Waldo became friends, because even though we're supposed to be nerds, I guess, Waldo lived in the same hood as I did, in the East Side. We lived literally like 5 minutes from walking distance. We knew the same people. We grew up around the same people, around the same friends that turned vandals, career criminals, whatever you want to call it. We were amongst that. So me and Waldo really had that good connection back in the day. With Steve, of course, he's a family friend. I consider him family, best friend of mine too. And the same with Joffrey. Me and Joffrey have been friends for such a long time now too. We both worked at Mission College at one point. You know what I mean? And from going to school together there, taking classes that probably didn't mean nothing at the time, yet we just wanted to be around each other, be around this creative flow. Me and Joffrey have always had ideas and formulating certain things. So for Steve, almost about a year ago, to be like, hey, let's put the band back together. I was just waiting, and I'm having just such the greatest time with these guys because these guys are so consistent every week. That's why, my show 7,000 Miles is the longest running show on Kumu, but for me to do almost 100 episodes again, that's special. And I get to do it with my friends this time. I get to almost break my own record or set another record. I feel like, Clay Thompson, let me put another weird record on the board, in my arsenal. So it's so fun to do it with, the guys that you've, these guys knew me before I was nothing. These guys knew me before I was nothing, and I always just wanted a good support system, with me. So excited. I'm super excited
the pandemic has
be doing this, with the hubs and to do it here on your show. It's awesome.
So the pandemic has definitely, kind of livened up our creativity, right? And so a lot of people got into podcasting and having shows. And, I started during the pandemic and doing virtual shows in the pandemic. So Joffrey, what do you do in terms of your art, like comic books, and during the pandemic, what were you doing? What were your creative outlets?
Yeah, I was just doing artwork for my own. No, there's no pressure of deadlines and anything like that. Just exploring interests, that subject matter that I never really got to do because I'm always under a deadline or some other project, something like that. Like now, I'm exploring just making movie poster type artwork. I've always wanted to do like illustrations for movie posters, like Drew's Truzan, like all those classic drawn movie posters, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future, like those type of movie posters that I always wanted to explore to do that I never got to, but now I'm starting to do it, but in my own. It's not in my own style in a way. Yeah, just doing those. That's pretty much what I got to do, and maybe learning to shoot cinematography, like videography and all that stuff. Like, everything's related, like that. My interests with art that I could use with my image making, I guess. So, yeah, just that stuff. I'm grateful. I mean, this pandemic never really. It's horrible, overall, but it just gave us opportunities to explore other avenues since we're stuck at home and just trying to be productive.
Yes, that is so true. And in terms of creativity, going to the one and only Disney adult here in our show. What were your creative outlets during the pandemic?
Oh man,
Since you couldn't go
you
to
know,
Disneyland.
I since Disneyland was closed, and I ritually go once a year because I can't miss. I try to make it to a season or a weekend that I don't get to visit. But now, no longer Disneyland. So I figured, my creative outlet was to figure out ways to I don't know. The show, it was on my mind the entire time during 2020, and the Hub 408 was like that itch in the back of my mind. And every week in my mind, I was thinking of how can I prepare for the show? What can I do? And I think it brought out a different part of me to the audience, because I think everyone gets a different piece of me on every show, because I have so many nicknames now from the audience. From rapping with Ruby Ibarra and doing the cha-cha and just those simple things that I try to be creative on the show, brought out these things on how can I be different today, this week, or this episode. It did liven up my creative juices and thought of ways to express myself with my friends. And truly, I'm not being fake. And my friends know this is how I really am. And like, I will break out cha-cha sometimes if I feel like it. If the mood is right and the song is right, I might break out in a little box step or a cha-cha. I've been invited to too many debuts growing up, so that's why I know those dance moves.
That is awesome.
For the sake of content, he'll dance and all that stuff. So I just wanted to I just wanted to add real quick with Steve too. It's kind of amazing to see his journey. He's known of Kumu, of course, for a long time. His brother is one of the founders of the app, but Steve made his bones with doing content. He didn't have to hey, yeah, I'm his brother and all that stuff, but he's known for doing the Hub 408. I would have never in a million years he mentioned Ruby Ibarra, shout out to her also, but I would have never in a million years thought that, first of all, Ruby Ibarra would be a fan of the Hub 408 because somebody
That's
like
huge.
Steve, somebody like Steve, who she judged his rapping, and I know she was lying when she gave him very high marks, but still, that's very good. That she was able to at least put that to the side, and not only that, really joke around with us, to where she's met Jason in person, and Jason, and I remember Jason telling me a story like, hey, she gave all of us props, and she was like, tell Steve, Ron, and everyone, like I love you guys, and I love what you guys do. Keep doing what you guys do. She said there's a place sometimes where you guys will cross the line or push the envelope. She's all, sometimes we need to hear that Busto stuff in our lives to feel good and to forget about things. So that to me is, getting paid and getting advertisements and stuff like that is cool. But when you actually connect with people, like the way that Steve did and everyone else does with being ourselves, that's, this is why we do it. This is why we do it.
Absolutely.
That is so true.
I think the connection with the audience and people that pop in for the very first time and are surprised that, they're English speaking on Kumu and they're from California and they're talking about nerd stuff. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. My favorite episodes with on the Hub 408 are like, for example, the guy from Switzerland, right? He was telling us all about there's a KFC that opened here in my town for the very first time. In case he's a Pinoy who lived out in Switzerland, and he was telling me how it's a nice break from monotony to just watch the Hub 408, and him telling us and diving into his life and letting us know and the culture being Pinoy in Switzerland, that's amazing. I mean, episodes like that are amazing to me. I mean, we have that connection with people around the world. I just feel like it's something that I feel like just being ourselves and having that connection, it's a greater feeling. No
Yeah,
greater feeling.
he put cheese in his adobo. He said he was mentioning that.
He does.
Really?
He does.
Yeah,
puts
he was
cheese
talking
in his
about
adobo.
cheese and fondue. So yeah, Joff, you
I
talked
was just thinking about
what?
the fondue.
See, and
Like
then
they
he
shaved,
Adobo
yeah, they shaved
fondue.
cheese on it.
adobo. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
So what
different.
were you guys like as kids? Did you ever think that you'd be as famous as you guys are now?
Waldo,
That's
take
a big word.
the most famous one is Waldo. Waldo, go ahead and answer this one.
I don't know why I'm the most famous one, but I think, well, for me personally, I've always been a background person. I've always been a person who's never really needed to shine in the spotlight, right? I don't really mind being out front, but I like being one of the people who are, a supporting player. I played a lineman in high school, and that's the most unsung position on the entire football team, So I'm totally okay with that. And being front and center, talking to people and conversating with people. I mean, this is just what I like to. I just like doing it, but I never really thought it would be something that I could do as just like a thing, And the fact that we could do this as like a thing is just super cool, super fun, and yeah, we don't really have to do a whole lot. Like sometimes, some days, we just kind of just turn on the cam, turn on the mic, and just chit chat for 2-3 hours. And that's a show, that's just something that we can do. Obviously, we plan some shows here and there. Obviously, there's some production going into it. But then sometimes we just have a week where we're busy, things happen, and we don't even know what we're going to talk about. Then we just turn it on and just go, So the fact that we have that, that friendship, that connection, all that kind of stuff, it's just, we're just turning a camera onto our personal lives is kind of what we're doing. So, did we ever think that I never thought we would be doing something like this, but it's definitely fun to do something like this. It's not that hard, to be honest. It's not that hard because we just kind of hang out and just do stuff. It's not that hard. People watch us, people enjoy us. That's even better, But the fact that we get to hang out and chill is definitely the best part of the entire experience.
So what were you guys like as kids? I mean, like I know like everyone has all these hobbies, right? And I'm sure that started from a very young age. But were you always like, I know like Waldo would rather stay in the like behind the scenes, but for Joffrey and Steve and Ron, did you ever think you'd be like in front of the camera or like in front of a lot of people?
Oh, I never really did. I think for most of my career, I always just fall into things. Like I never really thought I was gonna work in video games and comic books. I just happened to like drawing a lot, and then I got a game testing job at Midway at that time, and they just happened to see that I draw, and then they gave me an internship, and then from then on I just happened to just meet people and fall into things. So I'm pretty lucky in that regard.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah, it's just I just go through the back door, like the side door or something. So
That's what
I just luck into things. I just
it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
And not only that, but Joffrey kind of he lives my dream too. I wish I got to and yeah, I got to work in some type of comic book industry in some type of way, more on the retail side, but the fact that stuff that we hold dear to us as children, like comic books and video games, he's got to work in that industry. So that's awesome. I would love that life. I would love that life. So yeah, very cool.
Staying in is different though. Lucking into it is like, oh man, but staying in is harder for sure.
Facts.
That is so awesome. And speaking of hobbies. Like let's turn into food. Like what are your favorite types of food? I know we were talking about adobo earlier.
Greasy? Anything greasy?
Fried,
Anything fried,
Greasy.
brown, and greasy?
crunchy,
Greasy fried, yeah. I think I eat more.
everything.
I get this question asked all the time since I'm on Kumu. They'll always ask Phil Lambs if we eat balot or if we eat, all that stuff, right? And of course I eat that stuff, but I eat more Mexican food than I think anything. You know what I mean? So I think at least maybe twice a month. It's always going to be right now. Birria tacos with a consomme is just my absolute
Yes, yes.
favorite right now. So anything like that with lots of queso on it and all that stuff. Steve mentioned fried. Fry it, grill it, whatever. I just need that. So
I feel like I'm with Ron as well. I mean, yes, I eat Filipino food and everything, but I think because the environment that we grew up in, Ron and I and Waldo and that North San Jose over there, Japhiximeth, Price. We live in San Jose where it's
Mhm.
just surrounded by Latinos, Hispanics, and going to a taqueria down the street is just so simple, or it's the easiest thing to do. Vietnamese food, it's everywhere here in San Jose.
Yes, yes.
I feel like we can have this battle back and forth, Nick, about SoCal and NorCal, but I will have to definitely say San Jose, Northern California has the best pho and Mexican food compared to Southern California. And that debate will go on forever. But I feel like because of our upbringing and where we grew up and how we were as kids, we were surrounded by Hispanics, Latinos, and our sleepovers at a Hispanic friend or a Mexican friend, and we would stay up all night playing video games and eating and learning about enchiladas for the very first time as a Filipino kid. Growing up, you're like, what is that? And
Mhm.
we dive into it and face first, and we get exposed, and that's just us. We live it, we breathe it, we eat it. So that's how it was. Growing up here in San Jose.
and just to add to that too, like when we are eating our own foods, usually our parents, of course, was cooking it. It's not like how it is today where you can go out and go to a Filipino restaurant. So we were eating, just like what Steve said, either commercial food or Mexican food, Vietnamese food. And we're always looking for that deal too, with that hole in the wall spot that their sandwiches are still cheap or whatever it is, or the drinks are so good. So we're about that culture. It's good to go to the places that people are giving 5-star reviews and all that stuff, but we really are about let's go to the grimiest place that you probably wouldn't want to step into, knowing though that food is amazing. You know what I mean? Knowing that food is amazing. And also shout out to our parents that not all I think Asian or Filipino parents have done this, but because of maybe the people that they're around, since they worked in electronics or they did other stuff too, they got to learn how to cook Mexican food. They got to learn how to cook American food. Like the first time I had lasagna was from my auntie, and I didn't know what lasagna was. She was the first one to cook that. So when my mom started learning how to cook Mexican food, I thought that was huge. That like, oh, dude, for certain things I don't have to go out for anymore. I could eat it at home because she cooks it pretty well. She was very authentic to the process.
Ron, did your lasagna have hot dogs in it? Did you? No.
No. To be honest with you, this is the thing. Like, it was very traditional. Like my aunt, like really used like good ricotta. Like she really used
Did she use
good
the
stuff. So
money?
she didn't skimp out. She wasn't using tender.
The money tomato sauce.
No, she was actually she
Auntie
actually
Gina.
took the time. No, this is the thing about like my aunt. She actually took the time to make her own sauce.
Oh my
So there's like
gosh.
a little bit of respect there to the process
Nice.
that she made her own. She made her own sauce. Like me, I can't eat anything out of a jar. If I'm gonna make pasta, I have to make it fresh. I have to make it with tomatoes. I gotta know I'm the one that made the sauce. I will no longer. That's just me. I'm not being a snob or anything. I just like the freshness. So I
Yeah.
kind of got that from my aunt of like, dude, that's fresh lasagna right there. That's she put all that work into it. You know, same way with when my mom discovered how to make tortillas. She actually got a tortilla press. You know
Oh
what I
wow.
mean? And I just thought that was so cool that my mom said, "Hey, I'll just make my own. I'll just make my own now." So like we're about that culture here. We're really about that culture.
That is so awesome. And yes, the Bay Area, I mean, there's so many foodies, right? I mean, everyone's into food and cooking it their own way, and everyone's into organic food and the slow food movement. Yeah, that's where I learned about the slow food movement. And so going to like your hobbies, like a lot of you read comics and you watch anime and play video games. Have you seen Trece?
Of course. Of course. I loved
Yeah.
it. I
So
loved
there's
it.
like this ongoing debate, right? Like about the voiceovers, right?
Yeah.
You guys know about that?
They're,
And so
they're, they're not a
and so
fan of what's her name's
Yes,
voiceover.
we do. Yes.
and so I just wanted to find like because I saw both versions, the um Tagalog dub and the English dubbed version. Um and I felt like, the of course, because I speak the language, right? So I felt like the Tagalog version was more like true to the story, and it was more believable because of, like how everyone spoke and the vernacular that they were using in the anime. Like there's really no direct translation for some of the language that was used. So like for me, it was more believable. But what do you guys think? Have you seen both versions?
I
I
saw a
well,
couple
go ahead.
episodes in the Tagalog version, and I think I'm reading comments on people saying that um, it doesn't sound authentic, or she sounds a bit Hispanic, or a lot of the Tagalog sounds Hispanic, or even the English dub sound a bit Hispanic. The accents didn't sound realistic. That's from what I got. As far as that, but the story alone, I love Trece, the storylines, the characters. I'm in love with the characters. Everyone has a tito like that who tries
Mhm.
to be a show off
The
and
quintessential Pinoy Tito, right? Your
yeah,
uncle.
with the shotgun and everything. Yeah, total. I feel like I'm becoming that uncle. So
You're becoming that Tito, right?
You
yeah,
are that
absolutely.
guy.
Is it okay? You know, it's
I
a
thought of
running joke
Let's
though.
go to
I
Disneyland.
thought of Steve when I was
Ron
watching
and
it.
I always tell each other that we're gonna grow up to be our uncles, wearing the gold chains, the Jordans, the camouflage jeans, and then we're just gonna wear the cut off shirts, trying to show off, and going showing up to parties and hanging out in the garage. That's my life goal. I want to be that one day.
So like growing up, um, did you hear
Um,
about
we're doing that
all these?
already. We're doing that already, Steve.
Wait. I'm 29 years old. I don't care what Walda says. I'm still younger than him.
Did you when you guys were growing up, did you hear anything about like characters that came up in Trece? Like those mythological characters. Like the like I mean, like the simple thing would be like the ghost, right? The Mumu.
White
Or
lady.
were there other characters or other mythological figures that came up, that your mom or your dad or your tita whatever brought up when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, it's like the duendes and capres, manananggal, all those ghost, pretty much ghost stories. Kind of heard about it. They exposed us to it, and and I remember when I was there, they had this show. I think it was Pinoy thriller. It was just some scary horror anthology, kind of like the Twilight Zone, but it was so low budget. It was pretty funny.
Oh my god! And
I would say for me, the most. Oh, just real quick, Mick. I was gonna say for me, I would say the most famous one for me is the you said Mumu there earlier. I love that you said that because I used to say that when I was a kid. So, but my favorite one is the white lady.
Yes.
I was always scared to look down the hall. I was scared to look down the hall that there would be a white lady, and it's kind of scary because even today I'm still scared of the white lady, but this time she's outside wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. She's not about vaccination. She's not about any of that stuff. So white ladies still scare me till this day.
And she wants to speak to your manager.
Yeah, especially those are the worst. Those are the scariest white ladies, the ones that want to speak to your manager.
Oh my god. And so speaking of like mythological characters, right? Going into the DC and Marvel universe, who are your favorite characters?
I have this running joke with my wife. She thinks it's a real person, but I think she just created it, and it's Spatman. I think she combined Spider-Man and Batman, and every time I see Spider-Man and Batman, that just kind of reminds me of mixing DC with Marvel, and my wife can never get it right, so it's always a running joke with me and her. But I think all of us here, we've all been reading comic books before they even turned movies. So a lot of these stories, we couldn't wait for it to get on the silver screen. Like we want to see it live out outside of the pages and up on the screen because, I mean, we've known about the Infinity Gauntlet probably long ago before they even thought about making a movie, and it's crazy to see it live out at the screen. And to me, I'm such a Marvel geek. I mean, we all grew up watching the X-Men on Saturday mornings, and that's such a that was good enough for me to even just think about the X-Men on Saturday mornings. And watching these characters have voices and act out, and be alive outside of the pages that you read on comic books, and it's amazing now that the Hollywood's technology to create characters like the Hulk, or even Groot and Rocket Raccoon. These characters are coming to life on screen, and I didn't think it was going to be possible, but yeah, it's amazing. I'm such a Marvel fan, Marvel geek, and I'm very particular with my DC characters and stories that only the stories Waldemar recommends I read. So he reads them first for me, and then I follow up and I read what he tells me. Hey, Steve, read this, and I read it and I get my mind blown. So.
And how about you, Waldo?
Like, what are my favorite characters?
Yeah.
Well, growing up, I think a bunch of us were mostly X-Men fans, right? Like that was basically our main, like inspiration when it came to Marvel. Like honestly, like right now, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America are like the biggest Marvel heroes, but for the longest time they were B tier.
Yeah.
You know, when they said,
yeah,
"Hey, we're gonna make it," when they said they were gonna make an Iron Man movie, I'm like, really? Okay, I guess. Yeah,
Just because they don't have the rights to all their popular.
because they don't. Yeah, because if they had rights to X-Men, they would have definitely made an X-Men movie. But then, obviously, at the time, Fox had the rights to it. But growing up, I was definitely an X-Men fan, and I was. I think it's mainly because X-Men were just like the group that we could all relate to. You know, we were basically, they were basically shunned because they were born different. You know, and growing up in America, being Asian, we're born different. You know, and that's something that a lot of us can relate to. You know, a lot of us who just even Hispanic people, Mexican people, Black people, South Asian people, all of us can kind of relate to that kind of scenario, and I think that's why all of us were drawn to the X-Men. My favorite character is Cyclops, just because he's the one that no one liked. Everyone at the time was like a huge Wolverine fan, and I'm like, you know what, I love Cyclops. Like the dude, the guy he stands for what he thinks is right. He's trying to protect his team. He's trying to get his team through like the worst possible situations that they can run into, and he gets no love for it, which is completely fine. But I'm a big Cyclops fan.
He's Cable's dad.
Yeah, he's Cable's dad. And honestly, and nowadays, I honestly just like the characters that are smaller, that are not as giant, like Hawkeye. I'm a huge Hawkeye fan. I'm a huge Daredevil fan. I love the street level type heroes from Marvel. Like, they do epic stuff really, really well, just overall. But I really like the more personal stories. I like the more the stories that actually, say something instead of these gigantic multi-issue events. I like reading small story arcs that have a complete storyline. So, whenever I recommend a comic, it's like, oh yeah, have you checked out this new this new Scarlet Witch, miniseries, or this Black Widow series? There's some really good stuff out there that, they're all famous now, but obviously, 10, 20 years ago, these were characters that no one really read. And I like those characters. Same thing with like DC. I like characters that are not exactly are not the biggest characters. Out of the holy trinity of the superheroes in DC, I really do like Superman probably the most, and he's probably the one that most people don't like. Or a lot of people don't like. Everyone loves Batman. And Wonder Woman, obviously. Yeah, and a lot of people love Wonder Woman, Superman is probably the most misunderstood superhero in DC's, of the most famous DC character. Well, no, sorry. Aquaman is the most misunderstood superhero in the DC universe.
Very good.
But I think Superman is a very, very close second, because everyone just looks at him as this guy who punches his way out of everything. But his best storylines are the ones that focus on him as a character, and and a good writer will challenge this nigh omnipotent, invulnerable, superhero. It's like, how do you make a superhero that can't really get beat interesting? And those are the best stories to me. And I love finding those little storylines that showcase his humanity over his strength, over his alienness, And so those are my favorite characters, the ones that actually show like an underlying humanity, a reason for why they do what they do, instead of just being badass or just being cool. They actually have a reason, they have a motivation, they have a character. And so those are my favorite characters of the two major companies.
I always say this. I always say Marvel has the best superheroes, but DC has the best villains, because their backstory backgrounds seem so human and small, and the venom crushes them, and you feel and relate to the villain of the Joker of Mr. Freeze, of of all these characters that Red Hood. These guys are just regular people that who've been spited and want their payback. And you, as reading DC, I kind of root for the villain almost. But to me, I feel like DC has some of the best villains. I mean, look, they made Harley Quinn look like a superhero. She's really a villain. She's really a bad guy. So, yeah, I mean, you can go so many ways with comic books today. Like I said, like Waldo's point, I feel like the characters in comic books that have the insecurities that make you feel like they're human, just you absolutely are drawn to those characters because yeah, they're saving the world, but am I being a good leader? Am I doing this right? Should I do this? I mean, these are things that Cyclops had to face. He was the pressure, the amount of pressure being a leader for an entire team of mutants. Can you imagine? And you're here to try to defeat Magneto? These are kids. Imagine being told you're going to be the captain of this team and you have to go out and save the world because there's people dying. That to me, you get that human feel. Just is absolutely relatable to the reader or to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I did want to second that.
Look who we have here. So everybody meet Anthony.
Hey guys.
Yes.
Hey, Anthony.
Sorry, I was late. Work, guys.
What's up, Anthony?
Yeah, so we were just
Hey.
So we were just talking about the DC and Marvel universe and who their favorite characters were. I mean, are.
Oh, I was just talking about that with a couple of friends too. It's kind of funny. I feel like I'm walking to the same conversation. Where were we? Just go ahead and continue, and we'll just
go on, Ron. Ron, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, you were gonna say something, Ron.
Oh, we lost them.
Yeah. Well, I was
gonna say, yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Oh yeah, just let me get this. Yeah, just let me get this point off, and I'll pass it to Joff real quick. But Waldo talked about how we were big X-Men fans and all that stuff. He talked about us being able to relate to certain characters, and I will honestly say I think they are probably one of the greatest creations or teams of all time because minorities like us do get to relate to characters like the X-Men. Not only that, if we're talking about favorite characters, I had to grow up for 25 years trying to find out who Wolverine is. That's a hell of a journey. It sucks when, and this is me nitpicking and being nerdy, okay? It sucks though when kids are just given the movie like, oh, this is his origin. Like, I had to go through years thinking that Sabretooth was his dad or his brother or thinking those type of things. So to see that arc of, are these memory implants? Did these things really happen? And then fast forward, spoiler alert, oh, you have a son. You know what I mean? The Winter Soldier killed your wife. Well, you know what's going on. So to see this entire journey of, say somebody like Logan who cannot die. He's probably about 200, 300 years old now. Who knows? Because in the 90s, he was about 150. So like to see his journey has been like awesome. So and not only that, I was influenced so much by X-Men. I started the Elite X here on Kumu. And I always saw us as gifted live streamers. I started the institution of gifted live streamers. So, I had christened myself Professor X. and I had gave all of our members X-Men code names because in some type of way it does relate to their characters. The Hub 408 here, though, are the only members of the Elite X that was able to choose which nicknames and who they wanted to represent. So we actually went with the Hellfire Club. So the Hub 408 is also known as the Hellfire Club. We use that logo, we use that name. That's just for us. So if you really know us, you can refer to us as the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club was a place where good mutants or bad mutants can go, have a drink, and have no fighting whatsoever. Everything would be civil. There was a rule, no fight, just be cool. You know, so like we also like the chess pieces of the nicknames of who we can be. Now, I'm Professor X already, so I was okay with that. So these guys got to choose their nicknames. And just real quick, let's go one by one. Joff, what's your nickname real quick?
In honor of Martin Lawrence, is the Black Knight.
Well, okay, it's a yes. Waldo, what's your nickname, Waldo?
I'm the Gray Bishop.
He's a Gray Bishop. Maybe the most problematic name, Steve, go ahead.
It has nothing to do. I have nothing to do with why I chose it. It's because I grew up on the streets of White and King. I'm the White King in East San Jose. On White Road and King Road. That's my hood. So that's why I chose the White King.
Yeah. When he first chose that, this is when MAGA was going really, really hard. So we're like, let's not tell people your nickname just yet. You know what I mean? Let's hold off on that. And Jason, who's not here with us, he's actually the Red Bishop. So these chess pieces are actually titles in the Hellfire Club. The White King at one point was held by Magneto. White Queen, who we all know, Emma Frost, you know, she took her title and she used that as her code name. So like this is the Hub 408 is also the Hellfire Club too, you know, just because we also saw ourselves as kind of the outlaws of the Elite X of, you know, when it comes to, you know, I mean, we have a Jubilee, we have a Wolverine, we have a Sabretooth, we have a Magneto, we have people like that, but these guys here just more so wanted a chess piece title. So I always thought that was kind of cool. And not only that, we are comic book influenced, you know, a lot too. I mean, Joff here. I mean, Mick, I know you had problems saying Joff's name earlier. You know,
sorry.
Yeah, Joff's in this prime.
Aaron his name.
Yeah, so with the Joffsimus, like, yeah, it's he'll take from things like Maximus, right? That wasn't that Ode to Gladiator?
Yeah.
It was an ode to Gladiator. So sometimes we'll take certain things and we'll embody that, or sometimes we'll take these certain nicknames and embody that. So I like how Waldo earlier also brought up Cyclops as being his favorite because everyone loved Wolverine and everyone hated Cyclops. And Joffrey always talked about how, like, yo, Cyclops is the man. You know, he is the guy. A couple years ago, me and Steve
got by Wolverine. He's stealing Jean Grey from Wolverine. Hey, Wolverine's the man, bro. Wolverine's the man. He's punking Cyclops for his woman.
But also, we've had discussions too. Like, I've always thought that Cyclops might be the better team leader than, say, a Captain America. You know, that's very debatable right there. Who's a greater leader there? And me and Steve we went through like 147 comment thread, you know, in public, you know, talking about this. So the fact that we have places like the Hub 408 to do it, we'd rather do it here because I'd rather talk about Josh's favorite characters or our least favorite characters or whatever than doing it all in public and like kind of ruining everyone's feed and stuff like that. But people enjoy that though. They enjoy seeing who Josh's favorites are. They enjoy seeing who Steve's favorites are. But yeah, Josh, just real quick, who's your favorite guy growing up?
Oh man, it's Batman, dude. He could get away with being an a-hole. Then you say, oh, that's just Batman. This trauma. And he doesn't have superpowers. He's just rich and white, so that's good enough.
A very good
No,
power
and you're
set.
forgetting
Yes.
and you're forgetting privilege.
Yes.
He is the epitome of privilege.
Oh,
His
yeah.
his family was rich before him. So remember, privilege. When you're privileged, you can wear Batman outfits out on the street and punch a guy who's just working a 9 to 5 as a security guard, just so he could steal a USB from the top tower of. Man, that security guard was just trying to pay for the bills, man. Batman doesn't have to do that. Why do you have to do that?
He could get away with child labor too.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah. Child soldiers, right?
Yeah.
He's known for that, right?
Yeah, child soldiers. You know that's a war crime. Child soldiers.
Yeah.
And he was fighting a war on crime.
Batman's kind of stuck on that one.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying. I'll tell you
But
that.
he got away with it. He got away with it by saying that's his ward. So that's fine. That's fine.
He adopted
he's a
him.
good guy.
He adopted
So
him.
wear green underwear and these tights and with these little green booties so you could come out with me and fight crime. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He was wearing the most
Batman
visible. He's wearing the most visible, uniform to basically distract the bad guys, and getting shot while Batman does his own thing. Come on.
And not
Ridiculous.
only that, he felt very privileged to pass the adoption process and just call him his ward. Like, you're my ward.
You're my son now.
Yeah, just
You're my son now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All Robin wanted to do was throw the Batarang, and he wouldn't even let him touch his utility belt.
Okay, it's all right.
Okay. And so I know a lot of you guys are anime fans, right? What are you currently watching?
No disrespect to you, real quick, Mick, but if all of us here, the Hub 408, we're speaking anime, we get corrected, so we have to.
We get corrected
for
so
the
many
fans.
times.
We have to pronounce it anime because we get corrected all the time. I don't know. You know how Filipinos are very about their anime. So like as an inside joke, if we're talking about certain anime, you had mentioned Trece, Mick. So I mean, I love, I love the Trece thing. And just to go back to what you guys were talking about with Trece, I love it in the Tagalog with English subtitles because I also find it really authentic. But for the people that kind of have a problem with the English dub, I'll say this. I mean, most of those actors and actresses aren't full Filipino. They're of mixed race too. So that doesn't make them less Filipino when their accents are like, those are still Filipino accents. It does not matter if they're half or what, that's still a Filipino accent. You know what I mean? That is still a Filipino accent. So I think we got to get that. We got to kill that narrative too of like, yo, they sounded Mexican or they sounded, well, some of these people are half Latino or their backgrounds are different. Just because you're not from there doesn't make it less. And I've got to learn that stuff from being on Kumu, where like they tell you, oh, you're not from here. You're not Filipino like us. I'm like, well, first of all, I was born there, came here, grew up here, but that makes me less. So that's how I feel when it comes to the voice acting. It's still Filipino voices. It's still Filipino voices. It don't matter if they're half or not. They're still Filipino voices. So I'm enjoying that right now too. So when it comes to anime, yes. Trece is my it's kind of my number one right now. I'm actually enjoying that right now.
That's so cool. And so Japanese anime, what are your favorites?
I just finished season 1 of Demon Slayer on Netflix. That I'm brand new to the anime game. I haven't really been watching since Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, and that was long moons ago. So I mean, I could say Demon Slayer was the latest in my ventures. Waldo up there, he's up to par. I know he watches a lot.
He watches a lot of anime.
He always
Is it
corrects me.
Ani?
Joffrey does too.
Grammar
Joffrey does
He'll
too.
correct
Josh
my
also-
spellings every
Jason does
time.
too.
Yeah,
You know.
Jason also, but yes, Joff, Wald. Jason actually has a lot of anime box sets that never been opened. Never been open. It's just like, dude, this is years and years of box sets, you know. So like, we're pretty much fans. But yeah, Waldo is kind of, Waldo and Joff are kind of our go-tos for anime.
So what are your favorites, Waldo?
So currently this season, there's not really anything that I'm watching. I am rewatching a lot of the Gundam stuff that just came out on Netflix. So because they just came out with Gundam Hathaway, so I'm just rewatching the old compilation stuff and just getting back into that. I'm a huge Gundam fan. 8th MS Team is one of my favorite animes. So I just love Gundam in general. Iron Blooded Orphans is another really good one when it comes to Gundam. So other than like, Cowboy Bebop, Bleach, One Piece, I mean, the list can go on. I generally like that kind of stuff. Shonen is really, I mean, Shonen obviously is very, very popular, right? Growing up, watching a lot of Dragon Ball Z. I mean, that's kind of what I kind of grew up on. But for the longest for a long time, I was very much into slice of life type anime. There's one called Working, where it's about these people who work in a diner. One of my favorite animes. They just work in a diner. There's one called Silver Spoon, where it's about a kid who lives on a boarding school for farmers and for agricultural life. So basically, it's a high school for agriculturalists. There's one called Moyashimon, I think it's called. It's about bacteria and yeast and stuff like that. So I like that kind of stuff. Cells at Work is another favorite of mine.
Yes.
I love Cells at Work.
All that stuff
Cells
is
at
very
Work.
Waldo too, like yeast and cell structure. That's very Waldo, right?
Yeah, sciencey type stuff is really cool. I mean,
Yes.
I like that kind of stuff. But then I'll flip the channel and I'll go watch like Black Clover, and I'll watch My Hero Academia, or 7 Deadly Sins. I like a little bit of everything. I like a lot of variety. My favorite anime of all time is probably Castle of Cagliostro. That's Miyazaki's first film. It's about Lupin III. And weirdly enough, it's the only anime that I enjoy watching in English dub. I usually watch everything subtitled. That's the only one that I watch in English dub. I don't know why. It just makes sense to me. I tried watching the Japanese dub. It bugs the crap out of me. But Castle of Cagliostro English dub is where it's at for me. I'm just saying. It's weird. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's kind of where my headspace is. It's just all that stuff. Food Wars is another great one that I love watching. Yeah, the cooking animes are really good. Yakitate Japan
The
baking one is one of my favorite ones.
That was cool.
And I always forget the name of this one, but there's a Chinese food anime that's really good. It's set in like the 1800s, 1700s. It's something Chuka Ichiban, I think is what it's called. That's another amazing one. So, yeah, I mean, I can rattle off a whole bunch, but yeah, I just like watching anime in general. They're just some really cool stories, very creative stuff that I think is still very relevant, even though the Japanese drama scene or dorama scene has been pretty much killed by the Korean drama scene.
Oh, dorama. Hold on. He said dorama.
Yeah,
right?
dorama.
Everybody,
Yeah.
we learned a new term today. Please educate us on the dorama, Waldo.
We'll be using that for tomorrow's episode too. Dorama.
Dorama.
Yeah. Well, that's what you call Japanese dramas, For the longest time, that was like the thing that everyone watched. Now it's basically Korean dramas and everyone's watching that. But Japanese anime is still pretty much a very huge anime and manga are still very, very huge markets. So, yeah, I'm still very much into all of that stuff. And I just rattled off like 20 different animes that I like watching.
You know what? Don't worry about it because I think Mick gets sick of me talking about that stuff also. I think that's why she wanted to ask that question because she thought I was about to like jump in and like discourse with you real quick, but I'm like, I can't. I want to, but I got to hold on a little bit. Got to hear what everyone else wants to talk about, because I could.
They did mention your show, Demon Slayer.
Well, they also mentioned Silver Spoon and Working, which are also
and Sales at Work.
And Sales. Well, I work for a company that may be releasing those shows in the States. I can't really talk about it too much, but
yeah. Awesome.
But I am also an anime fan. Yeah. But we should continue before I start just barfing out stuff. I'll just wait till we're done and then I'll sit with Mick. And,
we'll chit chat about Anime Expo some other time.
Yeah, I mean, gosh. Let me tell you. Yes, I got some stuff, man. I mean, you talk about your friend who has unopened box sets. I still have boxes from Reich stuff that I ordered 2 summers ago that are still in the shipping box.
Oh wow!
Unopened.
Yes. Sorry. Mick complains a lot because there's boxes that are coming, and she's like, "How about these boxes?" I go, "Don't worry about that. How about you don't worry? It's cool. We're good." And then
Anthony.
I get stuff from work also, so it's like, what are those boxes from? I'm like, hey, don't. It's research. It's work research. Don't worry about it. We good.
Or quote unquote marketing research, right?
Yeah. She finds me on the computer all the time, and she's like, "What are you looking at? Are you looking at porn?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I'm looking at figures. Look at that one. This one's hot." Or I start talking about I'm a big mecha fan. So she finds me in front of the computer looking at Macross Valkyries or Voltus Fans, and I'm sitting there complaining about sizes or trying to it's like a shoe drop a lot of times. When she finds me at 3 a.m. trying to reset, trying to hit that button all the time for that, for the drop, and I don't get it. And she's like, "It's 3 a.m." I go, "Yeah, but in Japan it's 4 and it's time. It's go time.
Yep.
We need to buy now." It's like, dude, you lost. They go, whatever.
But you tried. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. It's 4 a.m. I go, I tried. Yep. Now to go on eBay and find out how much the secondary market is.
But yeah, so funny.
I'm a fan. I'm a geek just like you guys. That's why she really wanted me on the show. But I was
like, you gotta help me out here.
You gotta help me out here because Aaron and them are coming up and they got so much to talk about. And catching you guys in the middle of your comic conversation, I was just like, that was me last Tuesday at game night with my brothers. We were just breaking down Loki.
And what's game night, Anthony?
So every night my brother comes with some board games, and then we just play because he's I like to call him Yu-Gi-Oh, the king of games, because he knows every game, every board game. So him and my brother they sit down and they play, and then we just chop it up geek-wise,
Man, I was going to say, Anthony, I mean, we do the hub on Kumu, of course, twice a week. So usually on Mondays, we'll do news and current events. And on Fridays, that's when we sometimes we'll freestyle it. Sometimes it might be topical. Man, just the same stuff that we're talking about right now. This is why we podcast. It's cool if we get people to watch us and stuff like that, but we just know that we're still going to pod and talk about these things no matter what. You know what I mean? If you guys were talking about, anime, we're talking about anime.
The way you do that, you sound like the people I meet at conventions when I say anime, and they're like, excuse me, that's
the joke.
That's anime.
The joke.
And that's what they did to us on Kumu. That's what they did to us on Kumu. So we're like, oh, wait, hold on. We have to refer to it as anime.
We've offended people. We've offended anime fans.
We're not trying to offend.
Not right.
Not trying to offend you guys. You know what
but
I mean?
I also feel for you guys too. When you get called out, you're not Filipino enough. That happens to me a lot too.
I get called that all the time.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, even in the Philippines, I try to hide my accent when we're in let's say Green Hills, right? I got to get my geek fix. I got to go buy robot toys, but I want that special price. I got to hide the English accent and try to speak Tagalog, and they're like, "Amboy ito." 110%. Because
Yep.
you know my
There's
English
no
accent
way.
comes out when I'm like, sir, final price ito, and they're like, boy, and like I'm done. He's gonna charge me
Yep.
triple the
Higher
price.
price.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So like I gotta like, man, I gotta
Hey
like bring
Anthony,
someone.
man.
Yeah.
Hey, next time you ever want to go to Green Hills, dude, I know all those spots too. I know the same spots you know. So let's go shopping next time, dude, at Green Hills, man.
What's that store? The Big Boy store or something
Big
like that?
Boy Toy Store
Where they
and
do like
Raider
unboxing,
Toys and
right? They have these videos, like unboxing videos, and they have like this. I don't know, like how do you explain that? Like they like open everything and like
yeah, unboxing.
yeah. I mean, but it's
Epic
like
unboxing.
the accent, dude. It's like ASMR.
Oh yeah.
Is it relaxing for you? Because for me,
No.
it's kind of like
It's like
he
more
talks a
like
little slow for me.
goosebumps.
But
Oh my god.
yeah, I feel you on that whole thing in regards to that. I get that. I get the lot. Like it happens to me even at conventions. Like I'll notice Filipinos who don't think I'm Filipino, but I'll hear them speaking Tagalog, and then I'll hook them up with a special like "ay kapatid." So I'll throw in an extra giveaway or something like, "Oh, Filipino ka ba?" And I go, "Yes, ma'am, 110%."
We have we have certain jokes, and sometimes of course being Filipino works for us. Sometimes it can work against us or whatever,
Yeah.
But the whole you're Filipino. So it's kind of double-edged for us. And these are the things that we do talk about on the Hub 408. These issues about what it means to be or even Asian American or stuff like that. Or even just people within our community, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's an Asian, stuff that's going on right now. But we'll talk about these type of stuff. But at the same time, we'll have fun with it too. Like, oh, I'm Filipino. Oh, you're Filipino? Okay, and they'll usually ask for a discount there, right?
Yeah.
Can I get a discount? So I had an inside joke I had a skit that I wanted to do where I would go to all these places, establishments of, trying to get a Filipino discount. But the way I would do it is I'd go to the liquor store. I would go up to this gentleman who was clearly not Filipino. And I'd be like, "Are you Filipino?" No, he'd be like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, I'm Filipino. Can I get a discount?" You know what I mean? I'm Filipino. Can I get, because that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's a Filipino discount with other Filipinos. So let's try it out. And if it works in other places, so let me go to Lucky's. And she's ringing, she's like, "Do you have a Lucky's card?" "No." "But are you Filipino?" He's like, "No." I was like,
Absolutely
I'm
not.
Filipino. Can I get a discount?
Have you tried this, Ron?
I really want to film it and do it, because we do stuff on OBS. I do want to do like pre-recorded skits and stuff like that. So it's a bit that I've been trying to work out.
That's cool. No, that's cool.
I want to see what the outcome is.
Yeah, just to try it out. Maybe I'll take Steve with me.
Man.
And you know what? Steve is not only the white king, but he does have a little bit of white privilege in him. So, sometimes I like to bring them around so we can use that good white privilege card. You need that sometimes. You always need a chat in your group, right? You always need chat around. You know what I mean?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
He keeps calling me the Sosha.
Yeah, the movie The Outsiders?
Yep.
He was definitely a Sosha.
Oh, he's a Soch.
Yeah, he was a Soch. Yeah, he was not
Letter around my neck.
Yeah, he was not like Waldo and Joff for sure are greasers. Those guys are greasers for sure. So they might have been going to war with Steve back in the day.
Hey, only Steve could get away with saying cracker with a hard R.
Yes, yes. And also honky with a strong Y too.
Yeah.
He'll lean into that Y. I'm like, all right, Steve, you ain't gotta do that.
So
It's hilarious.
oh my gosh. And so speaking of like video games, so Joff is actually an artist. He's a comic book artist, and he's done a lot of stuff, right? And he's worked in video games as well, right? So, what are your favorite video games?
Wrestling games, really? Just
Yes.
yeah, wrestling games. No Mercy, obviously. Like WrestleMania 2000. Those kind of low res games because it's the gameplay is fun, like Retromania, all that stuff. So yeah, but usually just GTA and sports games. That's mainly the games I play. Maybe some role playing games here and there, but it just depends on the hours you got to put in. If there's
Not that kind of show.
yeah, if it's some RPG, it just depends because those games are time consuming. You got to put on like at least 60 hours. So
if not more.
Yeah, if not more,
including side quests.
Yeah. So.
But that's great that you mentioned a wrestling game because like I'm a bit of a wrestling fan myself. What was your favorite one? Was No Mercy? I think that was probably the best. The old N64.
Yeah, I had the
NWO versus WCW was also really good.
Yeah, I had the New Japan Pro Wrestling version of it where everybody's on it. Like the Pancrase guys were on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like Hickson Gracie and all Ken Shamrock, all those guys, and they had the WCW guys because at that time I think New Japan had a contract. They're working with WCW, so all the WCW guys were there. Scott Norton, all those obscure guys that never show up on TV, they're all in there. So, and they're for an N64 game, they had 100+ wrestlers. So
that's one that I missed on. I would have played the hell out of that game.
That game was my favorite.
Cool. I was going to say, with Joffrey saying that game too, that was around the time that me and Joffrey were kind of formulating our friendship. You know, he was I'll be honest with you, I knew Joffrey because of my
was having relations.
Ex's brother. I was having relations with someone at the time, and her brother was actually one of Joff's best friends. So like, I get to hang out with the the brothers' homies, so that's, and me and Joff, we got close because of those N64 games, Anthony. We got close because of wrestling.
Yeah.
Me and Joffrey, we went to all the major pay-per-views, like in the 90s. Like me, Steve, also Jason, we're lifelong wrestling fans. We actually have a show on Kumu called The Squared Circle where we talk about wrestling.
Oh, that's awesome.
But those days of Joff playing those N64 games. Those were the formulations of our friendship. So when Joff found out that there were Japanese versions of those games, we started modding our Nintendo 64s.
Yeah, you just take out the tab, really.
Yeah, you just take out the tab.
Just like the Super Nintendo before.
Yeah, so
you just pop the tab instead of buying that $30
exactly.
What do they call that?
The adapter.
The adapter.
Yeah,
dude. It was like
so we literally spent hours, like we'd be up until like 4 a.m. You know what I mean, playing these games and just like really building. And even until now, I still actually have those same Japanese games. I actually played WCW Revenge like 2 nights ago. So those games are super fun right there.
Yeah.
Good choices, Joff. Good choices.
Classics. Those are classic games. I would have killed to play that Japan Pro Wrestling one. Just so many other characters that I would have loved to.
You can find it on eBay still. It's Virtual Pro Wrestling Part 2. That's the best version to get.
I don't have my N64 anymore though.
Oh.
I'm the only old system I kept.
Dude. Yeah, you can hit up the swap meet or something like that, right?
It's true. It's just I haven't even used my newer systems. Like I have a Switch and a PS4 kind of gathering a little bit of dust. I need to like kick into gear a little bit. But yeah,
so true.
The old games are classic.
And so you guys have built quite a community in Kumu, right? Um, and it seems like a lot of people watch you, and all of you are supporting each other. And so, like, in terms of like putting Filipino Americans on the map and uplifting our Filipino American community, what do you think we should continue, or what do you think we should do in doing that, like to
Support each
continue
other.
the momentum?
I believe support each other. It's a great time to be alive and to be in this, just there's so many outlets, so many things, there's so many small businesses that are opening up and are Asian owned or just just support one another. I feel like the a huge major part in success is finding the support from someone you least expect it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find true human beings who have a heart and care that who honestly want to support you, and you'll never forget your true fans, your true supporters, and the ones who were with you from day one. It's that kind of friendship, that kind of love, that it's hard to find. And with the Hub 408, we support one another and with each other's ideas and whatever outlet and things that we come up with. It's a building block for the next step.
Also
Does
to add
anyone
on,
want to add? Yeah.
yeah, just to add on to that too, yeah, we've kind of built culture on our app. I would like to think, without tuning my own horn, but like I've really been at the forefront, especially when it comes to Kumu, of like being a guinea pig, being the first, seeing if stuff works out. Um, at the same time, when people say, "Hey, oh, you guys are popular, you guys are all that stuff," we try not to let that phase us. To be honest with you,
Mhm.
I had a discussion with Joff on his show the other night. They were like, "Ron, you have 97,000 followers, almost 97,000 followers," and I said, "Joffrey, even though numbers don't lie, which I'm super grateful for the support and all that stuff, even though numbers don't lie, if you were to take 97,000 followers, divide that by half again, divide it by half, keep dividing it till it's probably about 1,000 people. I know only probably 26 people are probably listening to me doing my shows. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I do my content for myself. I do it for the Hub 408. And if I happen to reach out to 4 or 5 people that night, I'm okay with that. I always stress that the first, anytime we go on, this is from Vince McMahon, by the way. Anytime you go out there could be the first time somebody is seeing you for the first time.
Mhm.
So I treat every podcast like 7,000 Miles or the Hub 408 as this is the first time I'm doing it. Some people, oh, I get tired of podcasting. I get tired of this. Like, what do you mean? This is what I do. Like I've been an MC since I was 13 years old. I've took pride in freestyling. I've took pride into all that stuff. How much more though when you put a microphone in my hand and you tell me I have 2 hours and I don't have a topic? I've considered myself a freestyle podcaster. And I know that Joff, Waldo, and Steve, Jason also, we consider ourselves freestyle podcasters. We'll give you the ignorance, we'll give you the good stuff, we'll give you the education, we'll give you the smart takes, we'll give you the hot takes. And Steve likes to say this: the Hub 408 is known for being problematic, also with our takes. Sometimes toxic, sometimes not popular. But we're coming from a true, honest place. We're not trying to hurt no one. We're not out there spewing hate. But the fact that we're out here down for ourselves and to support each other, I love it. Waldo earlier talked about being a background player. But I remember when, and I'm not trying to bring this person up, but a person came into our show with kind of a right-wing view and agenda on certain things, Waldo stepped up and challenged this person of, well, show us the receipts, because we're all pretty, kind of liberal here on the Hub 408. So that's all we want. Where's the clarity at? Show us the receipts. And I'll tell you guys what, Waldo looked like he was ready to go. You know
Waldo
what I mean?
said, show me the receipts or you're about to catch me hands.
Yeah, show me the receipts. Let's talk about these issues that you're talking about. If you're putting down people of color that we fight for, like I've been out there, when the whole BLM thing was out there, I was out there. I have to. I come from a hip hop background. It's a Black and Latino art that I'm making my money off of. How can I not support Black Lives Matter? That's what we grew up around too, in the East Side too. Mm-hmm. Grew up amongst Black folks, grew up amongst Mexican folks, Asian folks. We got to support each other. So the fact that we're able to talk about these issues and bring this type of stuff, this is why we do it. This is why we do it. This is why when Mick asked us, hey, I want to get the Hub 408 on my show, we're like, holy shit, awesome. We get to do a little bit of what we do on somebody else's platform, even though we're not given the full extent. We're not opening the trench coat and exposing ourselves, but we're giving little peeks. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know what I mean? So at least we get to push the envelope, and we're known for that. You know what I mean? So I love it. I love being able to do this show with these guys. I truly do.
Anything to add to that, Waldo or Joff?
The good thing about it is, even though if you have, let's say, like an unpopular take, somebody could kind of educate you or enlighten you why you're wrong, and something that you might not have taken into consideration their point of view, and you can get enlightened or get the other side of the argument where now you have other factors to consider why, and change your opinion on it. So that could come out problematic where that's your opinion at first, but now that you have more information on the subject, then you could kind of change your mind about it and be more educated. So it's not always wrong to be problematic, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
One thing that happened to me, actually, because of these guys on a recent episode was these guys checked me. The discussion was, when I walk into a liquor store, can I say, hello, my friend, to the person working the counter? And they were like, Waldo was like, dude, that's condescending. And I was like, really? I buy from this guy all the time. Why can't I call this guy my friend? So we go through a good 20, 30 minutes on this episode of why I cannot say that. And I'll tell you what, it really changed me. When I go to the liquor store now, I don't really call him my friend, but I give him a little bit more, because the one thing that Waldo said was like, do you know his name? I'm like, damn, I've been buying from this guy for almost 4 years. Now I don't even know his name. I've been calling him my friend. So it really checked me. Joff and Waldo and whoever else was there, they checked me on that. So even I get to learn myself. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Waldo, I know you remember that episode. It's just, Waldo gave a lot of insight, and I got to learn, Waldo, right?
Yeah, I mean, we get into discussions along those lines. I mean, this one wasn't necessarily like a typical political, discussion or anything like that. It was just something that kind of came up, and it was just like, yeah, it's kind of weird calling someone your friend when you're not actually their friend. And he kept, Ron kept saying, hey, I want him to be my friend. And it's like, well, what do you do when you first meet someone for the first time and you want to be their friend? The very first thing you do is introduce yourself. You introduce yourself, you get their name, you get to know them a little bit, that kind of stuff. So, just little things like that. And
not only that, I took that same discussion that I had with Waldo and all these guys on this podcast. I bring this up to my dad. Like maybe a week and a half ago, I was at my dad's place. I bring this up to my dad. And my dad is he comes from a different era too. You know, he comes from a completely different era, right? So when I get to educate him with when he says, "Oh, dang, that is kind of wrong, huh?" That we call him my friend in some kind of condescending way. It's like holy crap, dude! Even kind of changing my dad's point of views. You know what I'm saying? That to me is crazy. You know what I mean? Because it's something that just happened on the hub. It just happened to be a throwaway discussion. I think it might have been a freestyle episode. I think it was. It was a freestyle episode, and we were able to create content out of that. And just because of Waldo and Joff and whoever else, shout out to my man Grub Life too.
I think it was Grub. It was Grub.
Yeah. Shout out to Grub Life out of LA. You know, he checked me. He was like, dude, I know my liquor store owner. I know her by her first name. I know her kids. You know, you got to learn their names. And he's like, I was like, well, why can't I say my friend when they say hi, buddy, to me? And it was Waldo that said, Waldo, you want to explain it? Why?
No, it might have been me or Grub Life, but it was basically like, look, that's their job. Their job is to basically be friendly with you. You know, they get paid to do that.
Well,
so they're going to call you, whatever.
Grub also said it's his job to say hi, buddy, to you so you don't rob him. You know, and it's your job as a consumer just to pay for your lotto ticket and your Diet Coke and get the hell out of there. You know what I mean? So, like, just something like that just totally enlightened me. And these guys are my friends. Again, Waldo, I've known since, you know, middle school. You know what I mean? So, like, to even get checked by your friends in public on a show, and then to learn from it, and then also put my dad on some game. This is priceless what I have here. You know what I mean with these guys. This is truly priceless what I have.
Yeah. So I think for me to answer the original question, that was how to bring up Filipino and Filipino American culture. For me, because I'm not Filipino, basically what I do is any opportunity for me to talk about the culture, talk about the people, talk about the lived experience, you know, from an outsider's point of view. And this is what I do for anyone, actually. You know, if someone's talking about, like, you know, a Muslim person, I know many Muslim people. Let's talk, and people talk about it. I'll talk about it. If someone wants to talk about a black person, it's like, I know many black people. I can talk about that. You know, I try to just basically give, like, you know, positive things that I've learned from the many different cultures that I've come across, you know, throughout my lifetime. You know, a lot of my friends are Filipino. The Filipino people aren't necessarily the biggest population in America, right? I mean, there's definitely concentrations in all kinds of places, but if you go to, like, Nebraska or something like that, no one's going to know anything about Filipino culture. They'll know about Chinese culture, right? I'm a Chinese person. They'll know about Chinese food from some random thing. There's going to be one Chinese restaurant in Nebraska. You know, there is going to be one, you know. But in terms of Filipino culture, there's a lot of people who don't know anything about it. So just me being able to speak on it a little bit from my time, you know, growing up with these guys, from my time being on Kumu, from my time just living the experience of these kinds of things, I can speak on that. And that's how I try to uplift everybody. And that's how I try to treat everyone that way, is to, and how I try to uplift people. You know, when someone's, like, talking about, you know, let's say black culture or whatever, you know, I try to talk about it in a way that gets people thinking about it and try to get people to understand it from a different point of view, you know. And if I have to bring in statistics, if I have to Google things, if I have to bring up, like, anything, you know, it's just like, you know, I'll bring that up. I'll bring it up. I'll talk people through stuff. I go through a lot of conversations like that, you know, just talking about just random people and how people are perceived and why you shouldn't perceive them this way, and why you shouldn't treat them this way, even though growing up you might have a preconceived notion of who these people are. It's like, well, no, that's just wrong. Let's try to dispel those myths. Let's try to dispel, you know, these notions that you have, you know. And then you see stuff like, you know, like the whole James Corden thing, right? When he had the whole segment of these foods are disgusting, and he has a lot of Asian food on there, balut, chicken feet,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of stuff.
Intestines.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I had a friend who texted me, and she was like, "I don't really get that. Is that really a bad thing?" And it's like, well, you know, you don't have to work, you know, go through this kind of thing because you're a white person. But you know, from an Asian point of view, growing up, these are the kinds of things that we kind of have to go through. If you brought your lunch to school, you know, you bring your lunch to school, people are going to look at it and be like, well, what the hell is that? You know, there's a very, very funny scene in the show Fresh Off the Boat where the kid brings like these noodles to his lunch, and people are like, yo, what is that? It's like, oh my God, that is literally an exact scene from my childhood. You know, I was getting flashbacks from that. I'm sure a lot of us could relate to something like that. Going into a cafeteria with your homemade lunch, and you're kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I want to break this out because I'm kind of embarrassed by that. You know, so it's just a lot of that kind of stuff that I try to do when I come across these kinds of things, or if I see an article that's interesting, or if I find myself in a conversation that talks about these kinds of things, I try to basically uplift these people, give them perspective, give them, you know, a way to work through it in their mind, you know, because I think a lot of these kinds of topics are very hard for people to wrap their minds around, you know, like especially right now, critical race theory is such a huge thing. How do you wrap your head around that? You know, it's a class for lawyers, you know, and people are talking about this, like, you know, middle schoolers learning critical race theory. It's like insanity. But either way, it's just these huge topics, these very complicated landmines, political, social, economic, you know, kinds of things that kind of intertwine with each other. And it's like you got to basically unravel it and talk to people about it and try to get at them from a point of view that they can understand, that they can relate to their own lives. It's a very slow process. I'll say that right now. But that's how I kind of basically try to put forth cultures, you know, that are different from mine. You know, I'm on Kumu. I'm not a Filipino person, but that's how I try to help in terms of, you know, normalizing, I guess you could say, the Filipino people and the Filipino culture. You know, is to just talk about it as if, I mean, it is a normal thing. There's nothing, you know, it's not like it's a weird or, you know, anything like that. It's just different. Same thing with me looking at a white person growing up and being like, what the hell is that? Meatloaf? What is this? It's just a giant hunk of meat. What the hell is that? You know? And that kind of stuff is like, growing up, I'm like, this is weird to me. I didn't eat this as a kid. I didn't have meatloaf until I was like in college or something like that. You know, it's the same kind of thing. It's just looking at it from a different perspective. And that's how you kind of have to kind of bring it up with other people. Just flip it on them so that they can understand these topics and these perspectives. So that's how I try to do it.
And for the record, I don't eat dinuguan, but Waldo here has ate dinuguan. You feel me? Like he's had he's like, oh yeah, chocolate, yeah, I eat that.
Really chocolate.
Yeah.
So
like,
I mean, look. In Chinese culture, there is a pig's blood dish that you can get at like certain dim sum places. I've eaten it. It's fine.
It's almost the same thing.
It's fun whenever it's a cool experience whenever for Waldo they'll ask us, maybe as a collective, do you guys eat Filipino food and all that stuff? It's also very cool to see your friend, especially me and Waldo. So it's cool to see your friend react to these Filipinos asking him, "Hey, do you eat Filipino food?" And I was like, "Dude, this guy has probably ate more Filipino food than me. I have." You know what I'm saying? Like he's down to try stuff. Speaking of other dudes, how Waldo used to have the fire IG when it comes to the food. So Waldo's another guy that we would like, hey, where's the spot that too? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, so just to close out the show, Arvin has been dying to find out what your favorite Pinoy food is. Like each one of you guys. Like he's asked that a long time ago.
Waldo, go ahead. Start it off,
right
Waldo.
there.
You want me to start it off?
Yeah,
Waldo,
let's go
Sure,
down.
yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It's very hard for me to choose. Like, lechon is definitely one thing that I, as a Chinese person, have. It's an overlap, right? Roast pig is definitely something that is something that we can all get behind. So that's kind of a not fair. It's kind of a not fair thing to pick. I don't know. I've never really thought about what is my favorite. Like, I definitely have a lot of foods that I love Filipino food in general. Like I've had like a giant turboed ham hock. Like a giant turboed ham hock is amazing. Palabok is amazing. Pancit, yeah. Crispy fata, yes, exactly. There's one place that I had sisig fries, and that is amazing.
Waldo and I likes going to this silogan in Sunnyvale called Magic Walk.
Magic Walk, yep.
Yeah, they have the best silogan. It's the best garlic fried rice with I always get the longanisa, the long silog. So
Gotta check that out.
Yeah.
Magic Walk in Sunnyvale.
Yeah, which is an interesting place because I believe they're Chinese people, but they were born and raised in the Philippines. So they have two menus. They have a Filipino food menu and a Chinese food menu, and I never go there to eat their Chinese food. As a Chinese person, going into this place called Magic Walk, I do not eat their Chinese food. I get their salags.
It's okay.
Yes, honestly,
their Chinese food probably tastes like Filipino food. I'm just saying.
Probably, which is absolutely fine, but that's not what I eat. But I think nothing can really beat a good salag, right? Like, just again, garlic rice. You got your egg, you got your protein, whatever you choose, anything you choose, you can't go wrong. I feel. And I think it's very versatile, and I feel like it's a very, it kind of, I know there's a lot of food that a lot of people consider very much a Filipino signature, right? Adobo, especially, But I honestly, to me, I think a good salag is a good signature Filipino food, and I would recommend that to anybody before recommending anything else. It's like, oh yeah, get some kare. No. I know people, and I know how they may react to that. Let's get you a salag, any kind of salag, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, you got to go tier 1 Pinoy foods with certain folks.
Yeah.
Here on the Hub 408, we joke about how there's certain tiers. You just can't give somebody a tier 4 food and be like, hey, there's some Filipino food. They're like, that looks like an alien.
What do you
exactly?
What do you consider a tier 4?
No, I mean he has a point because like some of my friends who don't know Filipino food, we'll take them to like a sit down place, right? And we'll order the tier 1 foods, right? Before we do like the hardcore, let's go to the turo. When you have to point everything out. It's like yeah, let's keep you safe first. We'll keep you safe. We'll and then after that we'll let you out. It's like. But I totally understand, and you're right. Well, a salog is I never thought of it that way. It's something that you could introduce, But it's the components are right. A good garlic fried rice, a couple of eggs, and then some type of protein.
Yeah, it's very simple, and it's very simple. Yeah, and then you have your little, you have your vinegar with your pickled vegetables on the side. For some places, we'll have that.
If you do the salog, the tocino, you have your vinegar and stuff like that. Yeah. It's so easy.
I mean, like I said, again, as a Chinese person, I've had to think about this kind of stuff. What are some entry point Chinese food that are not Panda Express, that are not Chinese fast food, right? Like what are the entry points for people who are not Chinese that eat Chinese food? I've had to think about that kind of stuff. So when it comes to Filipino food, I've had to think about that. How to introduce a person to Filipino food if they've never had it before. So. Yeah, it's a it's a thing that I've done before. Yeah.
It certainly is a good introduction, and tonight's show is certainly a good introduction to the Hub 408, right? I mean, we got to know you guys a little bit, like as RON said, it's like opening and closing a little bit of everything that you guys are about, right?
Exactly.
And we hope to have you again on our show. And hopefully next time RON can do a set for us too.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
I just had to get in and
she's gonna do that all the time because she talks about your set a lot. Like we were talking about hip hop the other day, and she's like, "But do you remember Arwen's set on my show? That's a style I like, just laid back. I don't even drink, and I want to drink. Arwen makes me want to have a blunt. I'm really,
yes,
I'm actually,
In some parts of my life, I've known to be. I don't want to be an influencer, but I've influenced people to do and take certain things. You know what I mean? Through my music, only through my music. So yeah. No, I mean, I'm so happy you, Anthony, and Mick, you guys asked me the first time to come on, so that was so awesome. I'm just so happy that this time I got to do it with my friends. Again, these are my lifelong friends, family. I consider these guys my family. I truly consider these guys my family. So for Waldo, Joff, and Steve, and we're missing Jason. Also, we have another OG member named Jacob. There's really 6 of us here. So you do get the spirit of all 6 of us here in this 4, though, because we do carry our name. We carry their names with us anytime we happen to be podcasting. So shout out to Jacob, shout out to Jason, and shout out to you guys. I really, really appreciate that you guys, got to get us on. This was amazing.
No, we can't.
You guys are so awesome.
Yeah, we got to get you guys back on again, and we'll just like talk geek.
Yeah, anytime.
Definitely.
For sure. I think on your show, and we can really bash it geek-wise.
Yeah, I feel like the 2 hours went by pretty quick. I feel it went pretty fast, and I think there's still more that we could talk about for sure.
Yes.
A lot more, yeah. But we learned in this time. We learned so much, and I, sorry I got here late because I was working on stuff. But man, it's an honor to be able to hang out with the 408. And
thank you, man.
I gonna be watching your show a little bit more.
Yeah, and we'll certainly visit you guys when we're up there in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we'd love to come down and talk there too.
Yeah, and capture some shows, right? Like with RON.
Yeah, definitely.
And not only that, I was gonna say, Anthony, we could take a couple of detours. We could go toy hunting real quick. You know what I mean?
Don't say that. Don't say.
Well, when I go to LA, I'm gonna hit you up.
You guys are gonna be lost.
I'm just waiting for the next stimulus check, so hopefully that works out.
I know that they're I heard that story too, and I started going through my backlog of stuff that I have at these different stores that carry quote unquote personal warehouse, where you just put it there and then oh, I can buy this now. Next month, so I'm kind of calculating, bills. Okay, now we're robots. It's
man.
Or
some
Star Wars figures.
Mecha, some Gundam, right?
Yes.
I built one before, so Waldo, I built one. I built the Gundam wing.
That thing's wing down. That thing locked.
Oh, you're gonna wing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I panel lined it. I panel lined it.
We got the whole.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I watched her do that. I'm like, wow, you build better than me. I had to turn in my Gundam card because
You know what's crazy is that I was building Gundam models way back in the days before they made it easy, because you know how the models these days are much easier, they snap together and all that kind of stuff. I remember way back in the days I still using the glue and all that kind of stuff. Oh my god, as a child doing that kind of stuff is oh my god. I love the models nowadays. Though. It's so much easier. You don't have to really deal with it. You could just do all that. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
and they're colored too. And they're colored.
Take them off the runners really easy. Snap them on. Do a quick panel line. Put on those water stickers, and you're
decals. Yep.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love. I love building models. Yeah. If anything, right? So once again, thank you so much, you guys, for being on our show.
No, thank you for inviting us. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you guys about more things, because I'm a lot of we can certainly talk about a lot of things. And Arvin, you're back there. We already asked that question.
Really quick, everyone else. Everyone else.
Caldereta. I love Caldereta.
Arvin, mine is papaitan na baka.
Really? Are you serious? Wow, that's like tier 4, dude. Like tier 10.
That's kind of like, Jedi Master level,
Jedi Master level.
It's even better when you have cannabis infused papaitan.
Oh my goodness. And so, Joff, what's your favorite Filipino food?
I don't know what tier it is. It's probably tier 1, but it's like sinigang, but it has to be spare ribs.
Oh, that sounds so good.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
With that tamarind and just
Yeah, the broth from the bone, like it infuses the bone infuses the broth. So
yeah. And when you guys are here in LA, come and check out HiFi Kitchen. Here in historic Filipino town.
Yeah, first meal on me. On me.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, when
let us know. Let us know when
order everything on that menu. I got it.
Hub 408 will be down here.
Yeah. Bring the whole crew. We'll toy shop also. I'll take you to Frankensons. We'll
I've been well, I know Waldo, Joff, and Steve, we've heard of Frankensons ever since I was like 4 years old reading the comic books.
You've never been?
Frankensons collectibles. I've never been. As all the times that I've been down south, I've never been to Frankensons.
We'll go.
I just know it's legendary.
Road trip.
Yeah. We'll go. I will feed you guys first at HiFi Kitchen, and then we'll kill it at Frankensons. We'll make it around.
Hey, that would make a trip.
Yeah, it's a nicer venue. It's an old Sam's Club. They converted basically into a convention every Wednesday and Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Oh. My God.
So the side story, it's kind of like owned by McDonald's before. Like they had a small spot there selling Happy Meal toys, and everyone built around it. So it got so big. So they sell comics,
toys, anime. Steve, you can go to Disneyland the next day.
Absolutely, we're going to downtown Disney. I want to go visit the Star Wars shop in downtown Disney. Absolutely, I need to get.
Oh yeah, Steve's gonna pay for the entire Disneyland trip for the Hub 408. Oh man, you're amazing.
Plus Anthony and
Steven's like, wait a minute. There are things I need to do at Galaxy's Edge, like build a droid and build a lightsaber. I can't, and drink blue milk. It's like
back the blue milk.
Yeah. It's okay. I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge yet. I still have to do that.
Yeah, we will all go for the first time all together. Care of Steve. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Steve had gone. Steve had gone before already, so he was doing the whole like, "Hey, I am with the droids, or you're looking for." Like, shut up, Steve. Like, I don't want to. He was really rubbing it in last time. He really rubbed it in last time.
That is so funny. And what we're essentially doing is like quintessentially the Filipino goodbye.
Yeah, basically.
Right?
Yeah.
We're walking back.
We're
to
hanging
the
out in the
now.
parking lot.
We're in the parking lot still talking.
I didn't take my keys out of my pocket yet.
Away.
Yeah.
My keys are still in the pocket.
Oh
I'm leaning against my car door right now, just like talking. Like we're about to say, did you want to go to Denny's? It's like.
I'm not refusing.
Yeah, it's turning into that now. It's like we should just go to Denny's.
Moon's over my head.
Filipino food. That's considered tier 1 Filipino food. Denny's.
After party food, basically. The
Tier
after party.
Yeah. That's tier 1. That's tier 1.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
It's been a pleasure and honor to have you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. And we'll have you guys again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And come over to LA and we'll have HiFi Kitchen.
And we'll go to Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony, I was gonna say we do have a Silicon, which used to be run by was that Steve Wozniak? Is that not his no more? Right?
No, it's not his anymore.
Yeah, I've heard about the show because we get emails at work for that show.
Well, Joffrey actually has a table there.
Ah, cool.
Oh yeah.
So he has his table. He's going to be selling his merchandise and all that stuff. So yeah,
Is Fannie Mae happening?
No,
I'm
No,
not sure
no.
Anime is not
that's
happening
going
this
on.
year.
Not this year.
Yeah,
Not
It's
this
done.
year.
I mean, it's passed already. So,
Yeah, it's like Fanime is always Memorial Day weekend.
yeah.
Yeah.
That wild
there's-
Memorial Day
Yeah,
weekend.
we'll meet up, and I can talk to you about how the first Fanime I went to was at Foothill College. When
Oh,
it
the
was-
OG. I've heard stories.
Wow. Nerd alert.
I can tell you about that one.
well, we do
I mean, the-
tomorrow.
Yeah.
We actually have episode 93 of the Hub 408. It's actually episode
Road to
93.
100.
Yes, we're on a road to 100 episodes. So tomorrow it's actually episode 93 till infinity. We might be talking about the 90s. You know,
yeah.
we might get and the Hub moving forward towards 100 episodes and beyond too. So yeah, come by and watch a show tomorrow, guys.
All right.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. And we might see Jason. Yabut.
Yes, Jason and
Yes.
Joe Boss from the Kumari Hood. You know what I mean? They're both our Elite X members too. They're going to be in LA. Our Elite X members, DJ Rocky Rock, he's going to be.
Oh, that's
spinning.
right. He's spinning. Yes.
Yeah, and you'll get to see a whole bunch of other people too. There are some Elite X members too with Grub Life, Denny Santiago, some of our Post Up gang members. So they will definitely. You guys are going to have a lot of fun tomorrow night. We're actually kind of low key FOMO jealous that we're not going to be a part of that. So yeah, have fun tomorrow, guys. That's going to be awesome for you guys.
All right.
We're going to that.
See you. Have a great weekend, you guys.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Thanks
See y'all
again.
soon.
Thank you so much.